I just wanted to point out what people don't understand about Bitcoin. They're like, wow, $3,000? I can't afford Bitcoin is divisible, right? So you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. Let me give you a quick stat, too, that'll blow your mind. If you would have bought, I think, $100 of Bitcoin in 2010, if I'm remembering correctly, $100 in 2010 would be worth 88 million. 88 million US dollars today. $100. Bitcoin's divisible. You don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. You can buy a tenth of a Bitcoin, a hundredth of a Bitcoin, a thousandth of a Bitcoin. It's a divisible unit. And I'll be breaking down all digital currencies, basically the entire market. I'm going to use my expertise as a stock guy and a former investment advisor in these kinds of things, working for a Wall Street firm to help you wade through the bullshit of all this stuff.
Every time you double your investment in the cryptocurrencies, go out and take 10% of that profit and buy physical silver and put it in your stack of physical silver. It's the only way you're going to survive this. So even if, after a little while, even if the cryptos go to zero, anything is possible. I don't think they will. The prognostication of cryptos being the wave of the future is a good one. Cryptos are the wave of the future. It is another way to get past the bad guys, past the criminals, past the unbacked fiat monetary system. It was invented as a transition tool to something else. We don't know what that something is. But cryptos will be here in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So you have to get in if you want to participate. But in the same time, in the same breath, cryptos are going to be crazy volatile. Crazy, as in crazy. So as a smart investor, as your investment grows older and matures and doubles and triples and quadruples, which the cryptocurrencies are doing right now, because you were so smart to get in at the very beginning, you need to start taking a little of that profit and stashing it aside. It's like those guys who go to the casino, and every time they win big, they take a little chip and they stick it in their pocket. And by the end of the night, when you run out of chips, which you always do, you're going to have a little stack of chips in your pocket. This is about stacking silver up. You can have a little stack of silver to ride you through the crypto craziness. I'm not saying cryptos will go away. A lot of them will. A lot of them are crazy to start with. Know what you're investing in. But in the same time, silver is the most undervalued asset in the world and has been for 150 years. So it is smart to take a little profit here and there. And I think when they double, that's a good time to take 10% off the table. When your cryptos double, take 10% of your profits and buy physical silver and tuck it away. Physical silver is still ridiculously low. So don't think of it as, oh, I'm cashing in. You're not cashing in. You're placing another bet on an asset that hasn't moved in a long time. And it's a smart move. Make sure it's physical, not SLV, not held by somebody else, anybody else, held by yourself. And that which brings me to my second point, Ethereum. Ethereum is going to continue to roll and continue to see good news day after day after day after day after day. People are using Ethereum. It is a tool. They are using it to access the blockchain technology. So you're going to hear so much good news about Ethereum because every company in the world at some point will be using Ethereum. It'd be crazy not to. It's insane what's going on. And Ethereum is still unknown. Completely unknown to the majority of even the diehard tech people in Northern California and Silicon Valley. Most of them have no idea what Ethereum is. They will, and they'll buy Ethereum just to access the technology aspects of Ethereum, and I can't say enough good things. The first big hurdle for Ethereum will be blown by the market cap of Bitcoin. Right now, Ethereum's at $36 billion, $37 billion, and Bitcoin's at $45 billion. Very soon, probably within June, Ethereum will be flying by the market cap of Bitcoin. It'll probably be up by $50 billion, and that's going to make the news, and that's going to have people thinking, well, if Bitcoin has problems, what's this Ethereum technology? What's that got to do with the blockchain? How can we use it as a company, and should I invest in that? And then they're going to see things in the headlines. GE has decided to use Ethereum for their new washing machine, high-tech, fintech. All this stuff is still to come with Ethereum. So, yeah, it's gone up massively. At the beginning of the year, it was like $10. And it's $300 and almost $400 now. It's insane, but you're in the beginning. You're at the ground floor of Ethereum. It's going to be around for decades. What are you going to do? And yes, it is moving now. It is big money wants to get in, as in big, big, big money, hedge fund money, banker money, central banker money. Think about that. So, yes, the cryptos have a long way to go. Will it be volatile? Yes. Will it drop by 50% and scare off people? Of course it will. At some point it will. That's what happens. So if you pull out, every time you double your money in the cryptos, you pull out 10%, put it in physical silver, you're not going to care. After a while, you're not going to care if the cryptos crash, because then the only asset left will be silver, and everybody will try to be getting into silver. You got to think 2 steps ahead, my friends. And very soon, the silver manipulation will end. And I feel it in my bones. I can't tell you what day, but it's very soon. There's so much information coming out about manipulation and busting the manipulators and stopping the manipulators and the lack of silver available. And I want to be involved with silver if you got the richest people in the world trying to get their hands on all the silver they can get. So, yes, 2x cryptos equals 10% physical silver. Make it happen. All right, that's enough of that.
A lot of crazy stuff is going on. Record highs or near record high in the Dow, record high in the NASDAQ. Gregory Manarino, thanks for joining us today.
If this in fact is a bursting of the tech bubble, which we are clear, everything is in a bubble. There is not one asset, Greg. You know this better than anybody else. Not one that has
gold. Gold's not in a bubble.
Gold is in a bubble. It's in an inverse bubble. Okay, so we have inverse bubbles with regard to the precious metals. We have bubbles to the upside, which with regard to the risk on, which is equities. There's no doubt about it. So these are going to correct. We've talked about this many times. Inverse bubbles will correct. Bubbles to the upside will correct at one point. It's going to feel like the mother of all meltdowns, but all it's going to be is the market trying to establish a fair value here. That's all this is. I'm planning on capitalizing on it, whichever way it goes. I don't care. You know that. Don't matter to me. I don't care if the market goes upside down or backwards. I just don't care. But I'm telling people what they need to watch out for. It's very, very important. And the fact, once again, that this came out of nowhere, that was driven by nothing, is a big tell. That we know the markets are fake. We know they're manipulated, but that's our strength. That's what I tell my lions out here. I'm referring to those of my pride that do trade this markets, that are stackers. They're all part of my pride here. Now, why I think this is actually kind of interesting as well. Look what happened this week. We got Congress, Comey before Congress. We had intelligence committees before the Intelligence Committee. I mean, talk, and there's nothing there. But I would not be surprised if they decide to hurt him another way, because they can't get him. They can't get him. Comey admitted Comey is now an admitted leaker. So again, we got all of these dynamics in this market, which we're pointing towards higher. We have the market moving higher. We have the Comey thing out of the way. He admitted there's no collusion. There was no collusion between Russia and Trump. He was never under investigation for it. But seriously, they might allow this market to bleed off here. Or maybe this is it.
And so you're saying that they may go ahead and just say, okay, fine, we'll just pull the plug on this market. And we wouldn't take that much, really, would it?
It's a hair trigger. I mean, that's what they, honestly, this thing is teetering on a nice edge. When you sit there and listen to the mainstream financial commentators talk about this market as if it's real. If it were real, if the Federal Reserve would not be taking the largest part of this market for the better part of a decade now and artificially suppressing interest rates, creating bubbles like we have never seen. These are the worst distortions that have ever been seen in the history of the financial world. That's really the truth. So what are they going to do here? Are they going to use this against President Trump right now? Say, oh, look, the market rallied, but now they'll twist this every way that they can. So we need to be ready for anything. I mean, I think that's the takeaway here. What they want to do, it's pretty simple, is have control. And that's the way to do it, by wiping out the people, all right? By forcing them to be in a situation where they have to ask for help. Well, that gives the control to the powers that be. We know the president isn't pulling the strings. It's the central banks that are pulling the strings. It's the deep state that's pulling the strings, all part of the same thing. Well, and I hate to sit here and sound like that, but that's the truth.
But gold's still at 1270. I mean, does that tell you that gold is strong or weak? What does that tell you about gold?
It tells me about gold. It means you need to be hoarding it. If they're going to attack it, they're going to do whatever they can. And this should tell you one thing. You need to be hoarding gold. More specifically, silver. I love gold, Greg. You know that. I own gold. I own platinum. I own palladium. I own a lot of silver. Silver is my favorite of them all. I've been telling people, in my opinion, it's the most undervalued asset in the history of the world. You need to be, grabbing as much as you can. Again, these are not trades. These are long-term investments. And I will keep acquiring more myself. I hope that's what people are doing out here. Bet against the debt. Become your own central bank.
If they can't take him down,
they're going to collapse the economy.
Okay, that's my question. What are they going to do?
They're going to wipe out the economy. They're going to hurt everybody. They're gonna look. Housing is in a bubble. It's cracking. The markets are in bubbles that are truly epic. All of this is being supported on the back of a debt bubble. Just as I have outlined for everyone that I don't care which way this market goes. Neither does Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. You can go on down the line. They don't care either. As the market falls, that cash that's leaving is simply going to be transferred to, frankly, people like myself that understand what's going on and how to capitalize on this. This is how it's set up, that the Federal Reserve has reinflated a housing bubble. Now they're going to dump their balance sheet. All those people that got kicked out into the streets, that money should be going to them. No, it's going to go to the Federal Reserve. It's going to go to the Wall Street banks who got bailed out. Remember, we supported all this. So whatever happens to us all right now, because none of us, so there were some of us like you and me and probably your listeners, who understood what was going on, but the general public allowed this setup to happen because they didn't open their mouths, and now they're going to pay the price, and they're going to wish they did.
And once the deep state, the people who are against Donald Trump, once they realize that this isn't going to work, you're saying goodbye economy. They're going to pull the legs up underneath it.
That's a card they can absolutely play, Greg, and one that will affect everybody. So it'll make him look bad. It'll make his economic policies look bad. Although, look at the stock market. It has been rallying off the back of President Trump's election here because they know he's the right guy for the job, plain and simple.
Well, one last thing I want to bring up is the Middle East. A blockade on Qatar. Could that be something that blows up at least the oil market? Another thing that, whoop, boom, comes out of nowhere?
Well, it's absolutely, but it's not going to come out of nowhere, and I'll tell you why. I told everybody when we saw that massive sell-off in crude oil on my own blog, I said, watch for something to happen to push crude oil back higher. It's going to happen. Look, the market, especially the financial sector that rallied on Friday is dependent on crude oil being higher. Their investments are off the charts here. If they need to engineer another war or whatever they got to do to push the price of crude oil up, they're going to do that. Now, what a nice setup that would be, wouldn't it? Market collapses here. Dollar starts to evaporate. Crude oil goes to the moon. How is that going to pinch the regular guy and the regular girl out there? Wow. All of these individuals out there are capitalizing on it. I already told everyone what I'm going to do. I am expecting crude oil to make a huge run higher because of some event. And I can promise you I'm going to be buying calls on crude oil upside down, backwards, and sideways. And I'm going to be laughing. Because I told everyone it was going to happen. If you want to capitalize on this, go to my website, traderschoice.net, where I post my stock picks there for free. And you can play the same game that I'm playing. And the same game that the Wall Street banks are playing too. It's not exclusive to them. We can do them. We can beat them at their game. Let me tell you something. I would be willing to bet I'm a way better trader than any of them over there working for Goldman and JP Morgan or Morgan Sachs. I'll eat their lunch for every single one of them. That's the truth.
Well, they have a friend of you on Facebook and follow you on Twitter and whatever. And there's
I have friends of mine, Greg, that work at these banks and they follow your show. So I know for a fact that what I'm saying is true.